Voices of Indy is brought to you by the Hoosier Original Music Association, and Humac and Visit Bloomington present the Songwriter Summer Series. This week they're featuring Elle Hodge, Derek and Olivia, and Elizabeth Duffy, live at Sleeper's Bar, Tuesday, August 27th at 7 p.m. Don't miss it.
Hi, I'm Gerald Potts, and welcome to the Voices of Indy podcast.
And welcome back to Voices of Indy. I'm your host, Josh Gillespie, and I'm very excited. I know, I always say that I'm very excited, but I am. I'm very excited to have on this week's guest. I've known him since November. That's the first time we met. His name is Gerald Potts. He is a local singer-songwriter out of Anderson. Just released his first album earlier this year. Gerald, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm excited to have you on because, like I said, not only have I gotten to know you a little bit over the last few months, I've been able to see you perform a couple of times. Whether it was with you, actually, it's only been with you. I haven't seen you with the full band yet, and that is what I'm excited to see. But you have a very urgent voice about yourself. We were talking this a little bit beforehand that, you know, people will say that you mumble, but I've seen you perform and you belt some of these songs out. Like, whatever presence is in you, really, just, you nail it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So, like I start with every guest, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, so basically, music for me started whenever I was 8. I got a guitar and started taking lessons, and from there on in high school I started experimenting with writing music and wanting to record. And at that point I decided I would go to school for music business, and that's where I really kind of discovered like who I was as a musician. I started a band in college and then had that, and that was super fun, and now I've been doing my own thing. I feel like my music kind of keeps me in tune with like where I grew up back in West Virginia. I love folk and acoustic sounds and like things that kind of are inspired by nature. Nature's very important to me, and just seeing trees and mountains just makes me feel at home. And it really that's kind of the picture that comes to my mind whenever like songs kind of come to me, is just being out in the fields. It's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we moved here, and I'm back.
This is totally different from West Virginia.
This is very different. There's a fun,
not as scenic.
There's a fun place where on your drive you'll see on this side of the road there's mountains, and on this side you can see the trees like 5 miles away. It's crazy. Yeah. Which is kind of fun because people are always like, "Oh, it's just flat. It's boring." To me, I'm like, "This is really cool." Like I see like that house way over there that's just a dot. You don't get to see that in West Virginia.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it. And it's kind of like relieving. Like, it's very claustrophobic being surrounded by huge mountains that are always going to just hover over you.
Interesting.
It's nice having this like room to breathe here.
Okay.
But yeah, and so a mix of like my love for like the mountains and stuff, and the love for just like the open fields, like all hit me whenever I'm writing. And also just the fact that I'm a human being and I've been through a lot of things. Sure. And that channels into what I write a lot.
Yeah.
And honestly, for me, my love for God and my faith just also pours into my music a ton. I would say like I try and just make my music accessible for as many people as I can, though, because my ultimate goal is to like let people know that they're loved and they're not alone in their situations. That's really like what I do this for. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, thank you.
So what I have to ask this just because when people, you know, major in music business, like I'm thinking, yeah, the business side of things, and that doesn't necessarily correlate to like, oh, I'm going to get deeper into music. You know, it's just like, oh, that's the business aspect. What about music business really kind of pushed you into really diving deep into the more music and starting a band?
Yeah, basically like a music business degree. Whenever I was in school, then they've changed it from then, but there were two tracks where you would have the business side. That's where all your managers and agents and stuff would go, and your more entertainment side of like you are the musician, the songwriters, the artists. And what it does is it gives you first off, at the school I went to, you did have to take music theory and get a knowledge and like how music formed and work, which I know a lot of people who are songwriters are like, you don't need music theory, and maybe you don't, but it helps it be a lot clearer in your mind, like what you're doing, and helps you come up with new ideas, because there's, I'm just a folk guy. If I didn't have any music theory knowledge, I'd just write everything in C and 4-5-1, here we go. Yeah. But now that I have the knowledge of like, well, this can go here and I can replace this with this minor and all this stuff, it can make cool ideas. So that music theory knowledge is a really cool part of that major. And then there's a whole side of it where it comes into like, you get to take like songwriting classes, you get to have experiences of performing. There's even camps where you get to perform and you get told like more of like a good way to perform, how to not just be a log up on stage with a guitar who's just standing there strumming. It's
almost like American Idol, except constructive.
Kind of, yeah. And you pay them a lot of money and you don't make anything, and then you don't get huge right away. Sure. But honestly, I would say a little bit more fruitful though. Like, you get to just make connections with some really cool people. You get to learn a lot about yourself as a musician, what that means, because it's not even like a, hey, this is good, this is bad. It's more of like, who are you? What are you wanting to create? All right, this is how you should start doing that. And it really just kind of gives you an easy guideline. Plus, there are classes of like how not to get screwed over in the music industry, because that's helpful, very easy to have happen. And just different kind of record deals and stuff. You should say yes to this. You should say absolutely not to this, and all that stuff. So, just a lot of fun things, and especially with the world of streaming now, you get to learn how much money you don't make, because
so true.
You get to, especially with I won't go there. We'll stop there.
We could all talk about Spotify all the live long day in terms of the whole money aspect. I'm curious, just kind of going back to the music theory, the concept of music theory, and how they push that, and how did that affect your folk music style? In that, I mean, like you said, you could have written everything in C, and I'm feeling that folk music can be fairly basic. Doesn't seem like the right word, but I mean, it can be a little bit simplified.
Yeah, no.
And has this really kind of drawn out more of a picture for you, like a musical picture for you of what folk music can actually be?
Yeah, so what it's really done is, I'm not going to say that it's made me write more complex things, because when you take my music and just make it a chord sheet, you'll realize it is simple stuff.
Sure.
But knowing how a chord works, like how a C chord going to an F chord going to a G chord can all sound together, and how that really works, and how they connect, and what surrounding melodies happen within that. There's a lot more you can do in the simple, and something I love doing in my writing is writing something super simple to give all this room for all of this play that you can have within that simple line. I love doing a lot of harmonies in my songs. I had one of my friends told me I write vocal harmonies like a jazz guitarist.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
You just take, like, I love taking, like, what I need. I don't use a lot of fifths usually and stuff, but like I take like the notes I need to get the point across, and doing that, and letting sometimes like the acoustic guitar is kind of like my snare drum percussive kind of things.
I'm
like
Dave Grohl vibe here. Uh-oh. That's how he describes the guitar.
I know, but that's the thing for me though, is I start my album, I use a drum kit, but I'm starting to get more into where I do like other ways of percussion, like doing the Mumford & Sons kick drum thing, and just different ideas, because I'm realizing like all these instruments I play are all percussion instruments that just, you can make a few more tones out of it. And so letting the foundation be the foundation, and letting the melody lines and what I'm adding in kind of be what form the song into something cool is kind of like what I've taken from that theory knowledge and like knowledge of scales and modes and all these things, because you can take that simple C, F, G chord progression and make it something that's really interesting, and you hear this one like sustained note that just hits in that weird way.
Yeah.
Things that make you go, oh, this is fun. Things that make you go, whoa, what was that? But I like it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And just having that knowledge is like, it makes it a lot more fun, like creating and like putting together orchestrations and just coming up with ideas, figuring out vocal harmonies, and just like making all of these weird different melodies and all these different realms come together to make something beautiful. Yeah.
That is, I love it. That's a beautiful picture of how that all kind of comes together. And what as a folk artist has inspired you? I mean, it's interesting that I feel like I've had a number of I say young people, but I mean pretty much, yeah, you know, I'm the geezer in the scene, I feel like sometimes at 46, but I feel like that there are especially a lot of people in their 20s who are really hearkening back to an older vibe, an older sound, that goes beyond retro, that really kind of is like rootsy. Yeah. What has been that kind of what was that inspiration for you to kind of draw you into that kind of genre of music?
Yeah, honestly, I think in a day and age where life is so complex and there's so many different things pulling you in every direction, having something that feels grounded and something that feels raw and almost kind of untouched is just really refreshing. Like, not that I love, honestly, all kinds of music.
Sure, yeah,
and I love the most overproduced things. I love things where it's just some guy recorded something on his phone and somehow got it blown up on TikTok, and it sounds cool. But like, I think just the ability to put myself in this context where it's just raw, you can hear what I'm feeling, what I'm doing in that emotion. Like, I do tune things, like we all have to tune things, but it's not like I don't try to overtune it. It's more of like a way of just letting my voice naturally be what it is.
Sure.
And like letting that emotion through in my performance, and you can just hear it. And when I hear other artists do that, like, I love hearing whenever an artist is so passionate about a song and you just hear their voice like breaking at just the perfect, like, gut-wrenching moment. And like, you just, it's more like you're not just listening, but you're really like feeling with that artist and that. And I think a lot of folk music kind of like has pushed that for me. I started liking folk with like Simon and Garfunkel and stuff, and I remember listening to songs like The Only Living Boy in New York and remembering what that's song, about, though. And
what is it about?
I believe that Paul Simon wrote it about when Art left him to go take on that deal. It was kind of like a hit at Art Garfunkel, and just hearing him.
It's a great song, though.
It's a lovely song. It's amazing, but you can hear almost like the sarcasm if you really like have that knowledge. You're like, I see what you're doing here. And then this funny poetic justice of hearing Art's harmonies on it, and you're like, oh my gosh,
it's almost like
crazy.
Like Stevie Nicks with Fleetwood Mac making, you know, oh shoot, I'm gonna forget. Lindsey Buckingham sing harmonies on songs that are just totally dragging him.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny, and that was the industry at that point, and it's hilarious to me. But then it goes on to, like, at this point, like, I've been getting into like Mumford and Sons a lot, and Marcus Mumford has so much just pure grit and rage in his voice sometimes.
He does.
And I love that because like, he knows what he's doing and it sounds great, but it's also like, I don't know, there's songs like Dust Bowl Dance, when you hear that song, you know, like, he's serious about this, like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I know a lot of people have been getting into Noah Kahan a lot recently. He's like been the big folk artist currently, and he has a lot of emotion. And hearing his songs, like I love his song "I'll Call Your Mom" because you can just hear him pleading to who he's talking to in the song.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think something about just having a simple kind of acoustic driven platform just leaves a lot of room for the voice to just be free to feel. Because whenever you add a lot around it and you add, the more instruments you add, that's the more you have to kind of adjust the vocal to make it fit into the mix.
Yeah.
And so I think folk music for me like leaves a lot of open space so that there's room for things to like, for emotion to come through. Not that emotion doesn't come through the other songs, but the way it comes through in folk music really speaks to me.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. And I love what you were talking about, the passion, and talking about hearing the passion in a person's voice and what that song will bring out of them. What songs that you've written do you feel most passionate about?
Yeah. Oh man, there's a song I wrote on the album called Outside. And
hold on. First of all, what's the name of the album?
So the album's called Guided by the Stars. It's available everywhere. I dropped it in February, and I wrote it basically kind of as an autobiography of the things I've been through. Those songs have been songs that I've been working on for years and years.
Wow.
And I've wanted to do an album for a while, but it's just like it never really came to fruition until now.
Sure.
And so there's some songs on there that are super old, some songs on there that are new, some songs that I realized I needed to write, and Outside was one of those songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I wrote that song actually about a moment. I don't know how, are we like a PG-13?
We can be as whatever we need to be.
Gotcha.
I don't censor my guests, so you're
okay.
good.
Cool. So basically, I wrote that song about being sexually molested whenever I was 15.
All right.
And so there were just a lot of heavy things, and it's a mix of like anger and rage, but also a mix of like just sadness. Not just the fact that I went through that, but the fact that that's just a thing that people have to go through.
Yeah.
And like I wasn't the only one affected in that. The sadness of the lost friendships there, because after that happened, the other people that were involved, like that were victims, and I had just kind of drifted, just because it's like it's hard to like remain with each other after going through that, especially with something that unfortunately it's in the moment for some people, they get so embarrassed going through that.
Yeah.
And so I really wrote that song to show, like, kind of be an anthem of like, hey, like, feel these things, go through these things. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to have emotions. It's not your fault, and you don't need to feel like you're the one that has to shut yourself down. And just, just be you. Tell people if you need to tell people. Like, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, you went through that and you survived, and you're awesome for it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine bringing those kind of feelings to bear in a song. I mean, obviously you can't go into like explicit detail in a song, but I mean, to know that, to have that message of it's okay, you're okay.
Yeah,
it's okay to have these feelings.
Yeah,
I mean, I mean, in the project that I'm working on, I've it doesn't dive into that, but from the same value perspective of it's okay to have these feelings. It's okay to struggle with these things. And these issues are valid, and these feelings are valid.
Yeah.
Do you find that happens to be in more of more in tune with today's music? Like, is it more raw today? Like, do you think you're seeing that in terms of people really kind of saying it's okay to feel a certain way?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it has been simply for the fact that music is the most accessible it's been ever to create and to take in. Like, there's a lot of people who are independent artists. They're not being influenced by any labels. They're writing and releasing their own songs about the things they've been through. So in that sense, like, I do really feel like the music industry is really starting to push towards just like pointing out like there's hard things that we need to deal with, and it's okay to be feeling the emotions you're feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what songs are you playing for us today on the show?
Yeah, so I was planning on playing, there's a song off the album I was going to play called Rosie. It's one that I actually wrote.
I know that one. I really enjoy that one.
I wrote that one actually a long time ago, and I actually don't tell anyone. I know that's funny. We're telling everyone.
You're on a podcast, Gerald.
I know. But I released that a while ago. And I took the original release down because when I released it, I was still like just a sophomore in college, just learning the whole audio engineering thing. And I was like, I got to do this again and do it way better than I did it. And I'm really happy with how it came out on the album, and I'm glad I did that. And yeah, the other version is not available anywhere. So if you heard
Unless you're a true collector.
If you are a true collector and you heard it or somehow illegally downloaded it, then that's yours.
Yeah.
Take it.
That's a congratulations.
Yeah.
You have a Gerald Potts original.
Exactly. So I'll be doing that one.
Rosie went down to the river, down to the river to pray. Well, God can answer her prayers when she's looking away. I wish that I could help her, get her to understand that you can't be praying to God like you're praying to man, like you're praying to man. Talk to me, Rosie. Help me understand why you feel so hurt and what you have planned. How do you expect to save this man when you can't save yourself? 'Cause I can't help you again. I heard your mother talking, saying she fears for you. Well, she don't want that hard hand breaking your fragile heart. So lock it up in a steel cage, throw that key out the door, 'cause you sure won't be needing it anymore. No, you won't need it anymore. Talk to me, Rosie. Help me understand why you feel so hurt and what you have planned. How do you expect to save this man when you can't save yourself? 'Cause I can't help you again. Oh, decisions for yourself.
I'm going to be playing a song that actually I'm going to be releasing in October.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
We're going to get a new song called New Light that I wrote, I think, in the past couple of months.
Okay.
And in fact, it's not even mastered yet. I just finished the mix. So.
Oh, this is exciting.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
But yeah.
And another one. Sorry, because we do 3. If you are a patron, this is where I threw on the you'll see it here because I'm doing this now, and when I go, this is a reminder for me in editing to put the link right here to join our Patreon, patreon.com/Voices of Indy, where you will get the 3rd track from Gerald Potts. What's the 3rd track?
The 3rd track is actually, you can't even call it a deep cut. It's so far out from release, but I'm really excited about it.
Oh, even better.
I'm going to be dropping it in March of next year. And it is called Wildflowers. It's a little love song I wrote. So it's probably one of my favorite songs I've written so far. So
guys, you are in for something very special today from Gerald. This is exciting. Very good, very good. What I want to ask you mentioned that you are a person of faith earlier. How has that influenced your music? I mean, especially as you're writing songs that are about deep physical, mental issues like, sexual abuse and stuff like that. How has your faith informed how you approach writing music? Because, I mean, I've listened to your stuff, and it is not what I would call contemporary Christian music. It's not CCM. And for that, I say thank you. But how have you seen your faith inform your music?
Yeah, so basically the whole reason I'm doing music is personally I feel like I had a conversation with God where he told me to do it. I always like telling people I'm not good enough at writing to write what I write. I think I write really good things, and I think I'm influenced through my creator. I have a desire to just help people feel known, let them know they're not alone, and I feel like my call in life is just to show them the love that God shows me, like to everyone. Like, I don't care who you are, what you've been through, what you believe, like you deserve that love. And I think especially like there's this big stigma a lot of people have with like Christians and believers of Jesus that you have to meet a certain criteria, and that's just not the case. And like when you look at the Bible and what Jesus did, his criteria was hey, if you are willing to follow me, then you're awesome. And all the people who met the criteria were actually a lot of his enemies in that point. And I think we're always in this constant flow of like, there's people who are going to be these people that are like, yes, meet this criteria, you have to live a good life. And the fact is, we're all just imperfect people, and we all deserve love, and we all have love. And it's hard to see because life sucks sometimes. It's a hard thing to get through. But the thing is, like, we always can know, like, I always can know, no matter where I'm at least know that God's got me. And he's gotten me this far, and I figure he'll keep getting me farther. He's gotten me through all these things. He's wanted me to express the emotions of going through these things, especially since so many people are scared of talking about it. It's like this taboo thing of like, oh, you've been through that. Oh, I don't know how I feel about hearing about that. And it's like, no, like, don't isolate that. Don't alienate yourself from other people. Like, we are here to help each other and to get through things and to be in community with each other and be together. And that's just my goal, is to just help people be together.
Yeah, that is beautiful, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, I feel like that has That especially kind of the way that what you just said kind of is a spirit of the project that I'm working on. And so I mean and to be able to have that kind of connection, is very cool. And but obviously we're coming at it from different places, but the message is still very much the same, and so that's very cool. Now you say you're going to be playing for us 2 new tracks. So does this mean that you're already working on a follow-up album?
That's yes and no. I don't have an album sitting here right now. Like,
sure.
Yes, I'm working on this, but it's more of
like a collection of singles that maybe turn into an album, kind of like the Billie Eilish method, or
kind of. My goal is like I'm releasing a lot of singles. I just want to constantly be releasing, and along the way, I'm kind of planning on probably getting like 5 or 6 records that I will not just release, and eventually, when it feels right, and I have like 4 singles out that I think belong together, like probably putting something together.
Okay.
Well, actually, I say that. I do have an instrumental project thing that I'm planning for next year.
Really?
That is all kind of very concept album ideas. Basically exploring where emotion leads me to play. In a moment, like figuring out like, okay, cool, like, so I'm feeling this way, and how does this feeling sound? I think I'm going to be calling it Minefield. It's going to be a collection of just kind of more ambient electric guitar or different kind of things. Honestly, whatever I feel in that moment.
Sure.
But a collection of music that's just exploring the vast array of emotions that I personally feel in my day-to-day life. So
I love it. I love that you're exploring all these concepts. They're fascinating. So you have the ability to do this because you are a full-time artist.
Yeah.
You recently took that leap. What's that been like for you? And kind of as a follow-up, how do you record?
Yeah. So being a full-time artist has been a major reality slapping me in the face that I don't control anything in my life. Whenever I made that decision, I was getting a bunch of gigs and things were going well. I was making about as much as I was making at my job, which was nice. When I was like, okay, I'll just do the artist thing. And then I've become a full-time artist. I get a few gigs. Like, I'm excited about the gigs I have booked, but not nearly as much as I was getting before. And but it kind of helps me realize, like, each season of my life is for a different thing. And I think there's projects and stuff that I need to be putting time into, that there's time open for me to be putting my work into those. And I think that's kind of like been the big thing, is like there's different times for different parts of life and different things you're supposed to be doing in those moments. And so I think, honestly, being a full-time artist has given me the time to really like pursue the passions that I've had in the back of my mind for years now. Yeah. And for me, I lucked out because going to music business school, I kind of took a route in audio technology, sound mixing. So I actually produce all my own work. Yeah. Okay. I just have a little bedroom recording studio that I've pieced together through the years, and I have Pro Tools. That's what I learned on in school. I was a studio tech, so I actually taught people how to use Pro Tools.
Oh, nice. So you're very well versed in that.
Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty well versed. Like, I can tell that I'm not quite as professional sounding as like Capitol Records or something.
Sure.
But I think I do a pretty darn good job.
No,
like,
I wouldn't have known. So I mean, that's
thank you.
That's pretty good. Now, when you released Guided by Stars, you did a record release party. You had a band. How often do you get to play with your band? Yeah.
So basically, for me and my band, we're not really like, we never set ourselves as a singular entity of a band. It's more like I have a lot of friends who all play instruments. Okay. And we all play for each other's things. The people that were at the album release party were amazing, and I get to play with a lot of them often, and sometimes it's a different band. It just depends. But we all kind of have a list of people, and we're all on each other's lists. And
Very cool.
so I don't get to play with them as often as I'd like to, because
No, I get that. Yeah.
I've kind of started hitting this wall where it's like, I just don't want to play like a solo acoustic show a lot of the time. Like,
I've totally understand that.
Exactly. Like, it's exhausting, and it's all on you. So like, instead of like, if I have a show coming up, like I have a friend Than who has helped me out a lot, and he'll come to my shows and just jam, and he's amazing, and so we'll just jam on things, and like,
very cool.
It's just a fun time, because having that communal aspect of like, there's someone here that I can interact with, because while it's like you can interact with your audience as a lot of the shows that I do, I'm like playing at a restaurant. I can't be like, sing along with me with everyone's mouth stuffed full of spaghetti, like, you know. Like, I gotta get that connection with people somewhere, and like, so having a musician with me that I can just connect with, and we can just have fun together is game changing. So normally I at least do a duo. I'll do a solo show if I have to, but occasionally I've gotten a couple shows where I've gotten to play with a full band, and that's always just a blessing, because
isn't it?
It's so fun.
It is so fun.
And you just get to have these moments that you'll never have again.
Yeah, or you couldn't have created yourself.
Exactly.
No, I totally get that. That's I know that as I get closer to the end of the year, I'm looking for those opportunities for full band gigs.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're watching this, Gerald Potts is looking for full band gigs. So is Josh Gillespie. Anyway, but no, that's really cool that you get that opportunity on occasion. And I mean, I do enjoy the solo acoustic gigs, but I feel like a lot of the, you know, there are songs that I know I can probably only get away with playing solo acoustic.
Yeah.
And there are songs that I do play solo acoustic that just sound so much better with the band, and they're meant to be played with the band.
Yeah.
And I was playing a gig last night, and I was just kind of, as I was working through my set list, and it was one of those gigs where I can play more originals than covers.
Yeah.
But it was one of those gigs where it's like, all of a sudden I found myself actually wanting to play covers for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But it was just like, some of these songs, it's like, I just played them so much. They're kind of getting old.
Yeah.
A little stale. Let's move on to something different.
Definitely.
And even if it's, you know, I find myself writing more. You know, I've written more in the last few weeks than I have in a while. And so it's like, I want to play the new songs.
Yeah.
But they're like 2 album cycles behind, you know, or ahead, I should say. You know, it's like, because I still got to get this one done. And then I have a third one written. I'm writing for a fourth, but it's like,
yeah.
You know, I just don't know what to do. I want to play these songs.
Yeah.
Because it's different.
Exactly.
You know? So that's why I'm so excited that you're going to be playing a couple of new tracks for us today.
Oh, yeah.
So, folks, that's going to do it for us for this particular episode. But, Gerald, before we leave and have you play us out, where can they find you on social media? And I must remember to ask this. What is one piece of advice that you would give to either a fellow musician or to someone just starting out?
Yeah. Okay. So for where you can find me, I'm at Gerald P Music. That's Gerald with a G. Common misconception. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I'm on TikTok if you're into that thing. And also on Spotify, Apple Music, just Gerald Potts. If you search up Gerald Potts Guided by the Stars, I'll probably pop up. My album will be there. And for advice, honestly, just stop thinking about it and just do it. Like, it's so easy to think up all the logistics it's kind of like having a kid. Like, you're never going to be ready, so you just kind of got to do it. Not that I'm having a kid. But,
No. Well, as one who has 5, that tracks.
Yeah.
That's great. Gerald, thank you once again for being on the show. It has been an honor and a pleasure to have you. And again, follow Gerald on all of his socials. Check him out on streaming services. And one last plug for the Patreon. You want to get that bonus 3rd track that you're not going to hear from Gerald until March. You can hear it now if you subscribe to Patreon at patreon.com/Voices of Indy. Again, thank you, Gerald. And Gerald will be playing us out. And we'll see you guys again next week. Bye.
Seeing what I've come to be, With tears in my eyes, I didn't even get to say goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. So